Hi, I'm Greg Beitine. I'm the owner and proprietor of Illusion Arts Magic, and today I want to share with you an evolution in the development of a particular effect. The origins of this, sometimes you just create things you don't quite understand where they come from. I've been using these little turnings as basis for my Tesseract transposition effect for several years, and one day I was looking at these and I'm thinking, gosh, is there something else I could do with these? I ended up cutting off the top of these and then creating kind of a concave top, and then found some marbles, and I don't know, it created kind of an unusual looking apparatus. So the thought was, well, okay, what can I do with this? And the thought was to do some type of a transposition. As you know, a number of my effects involve the use of what we'll call Chinese checkers or discs similar to these. And so I already had it in my mind that the process of reappearing this once it vanished would be done similar to the Chinese checker cabinet effect that uses a pagoda or a cylinder that can be placed over the checkers, and then snap your fingers and it can reappear. And so of course this is achieved by a series of hollowed out checkers. What I like about this approach, unlike some where they use a metal cylinder that doesn't have any play in the discs, so it becomes fairly obvious, I think, that it's a metal cylinder containing something, as opposed to something like this that seems somewhat organic and they can move around a little bit. So the appearance I figured out. The challenge was to come up with a way to vanish it. And so my first attempt is what you see here on your right. My left, a cabinet, and I'll turn it all the way around. Actually got a lot of really amazing comments about it, but in reality this first or initial prototype really failed for me. What this involves is a pivot that is actuated by the top, and so there's actually a small kind of lazy Susan device in the base of this, and the issue for me that made this not workable after I had built this prototype is how to obscure the turning of this. And perhaps others could come up with a better way, but I found that even the process of, say, turning this around to show all the way around it requires you to hold on to the top, and it just seemed awkward to me. So I thought, well, what other option could I possibly employ? And so what I'll show you is kind of the next iteration of this, which this is unfinished, but I was testing, again, the device. In this particular case, what I decided to do was to eliminate any turntable on the top, still utilizing the lazy Susan capabilities, but trying to do it with a lever in the back. And the lever is actually offset. It's hard to see in here, but it's actually offset in a way that if you pull this out and then return it, hence one of the challenges is that if the angle isn't quite right, actually getting it to spin around appropriately is a challenge. So this was, in my opinion, a fail as well. And, live and learn. So as I thought about how to solve this, what finally occurred to me was the idea of trying to make it as simple as possible. Oftentimes a large movement can obscure a small movement. And in this particular case, this is the ultimate solution. It's not finished, but it does afford me, I think, the best of the three solutions. In this particular case, it still uses the lazy Susan, but uses a turntable on the bottom. Now this would be obscured by the base, which will come down. But the idea is that in order to perform this, you would hold it in your hand, open the front, show the item. Now, a little tip that I discovered was, in order for this not to talk as it spins around, I installed a magnet at the bottom, and there's a magnet here. so that holds it in the proper way. And so one can just very simply turn this around with the door closed and then set it down. This could be done as you're walking over to a table. Anyway, there's a number of ways that this could be hidden. And frankly, this just became the simplest way to perform this with the minimum amount of movement and yet achieve the effect. So this will be dressed out similarly to this version, which was the early prototype. And I think we'll have a doable solution. I call this the Dragon Orb Vanish in Appearance. I've had a lot of comments. People are very interested in this, but I thought it was even more interesting to share kind of the evolution of the trick relative to finding a solution that I think is workable. So before long we'll be offering these, but I just thought it was an interesting story and I hope you enjoyed it. By the way, one more quick idea on this is that I found with the final solution that in the process of tipping this backward, the weight actually helps facilitate the turning, which I thought was an interesting outcome that I didn't anticipate. So once again, that's magnetized on the bottom to a magnet underneath the velvet. And just by the process of tipping it, it actually facilitates most of the turning already.